Stephen the Great, the champion of Christ, cousin of the notorious Vlad the Impaler, nemesis of the mighty Mehmed the Conqueror. Stephen III of Moldavia is remembered today by those across Moldova and Romania as a national hero and a canonized saint. The exact year of the mighty Stephen's birth is unknown, with estimates ranging from 1433 to 1440. Family, although one could guess that the date would fall closer to the earlier years given the prince's closeness in timeline to Mehmed II and Vlad III, both born in the early 1430s. Stephen was the grandson of Alexander the Good of Moldavia and the son of Bogdan II, Bogdan, and Maria Oltea. Historians speculate that Stephen likely had around 5 siblings, although, with the great commonality of illegitimate offspring in Stephen and his father's time, that number may be quite different in reality. Stephen himself is also believed to have fathered a handful of legitimate and possibly many more illegitimate children between his multiple wives and affairs. It's assumed that the great Moldavian fathered 2 or 3 sons named Alexandru alone, with one having been from a woman by name of Marusha or Marika that some claim to have been his first wife, though the legitimacy of this is scrutinized. Stephen's later wives included the likes of Evdokia of Kiev, Maria of Mengup, and Maria Voichida, with all 3 women and other mistresses birthing multiple heirs for the prince. But, in spite of Stephen's colorful record when it came to his marital and familial relations, he was and continues to be viewed as a Christian hero. This is in large part due to him being the mastermind of one of the greatest European victories against the Ottoman Empire in all of history, but with additional credit to his insistence on building dozens of new churches throughout his reign. Pope Sixtus IV would award the prince with the title of Athleta Christi for his efforts, and historians note that many Moldavians began to regard Stephen as a saint almost immediately after his death, though he would not be canonized until June of 1992. Nevertheless, a man such as Stephen boasts far more to his story than wives, heirs, and titles. Stephen was a prince, a military commander, and a friend, or enemy, to some of history's most famous faces. And it all started with the aid and death of his father. Young Stephen's first taste of princedom came when his father named him co-ruler and heir to the Moldavian throne before he'd even reached adulthood. It was also around this time that Stephen's cousin, Vlad III Dracula, had come to seek refuge under Bogdan's protection after being ousted from the Wallachian throne at the end of 1448. The relationship between the boys is assumed to have been good, and when Bogdan was murdered by his own brother, Peter III Aaron, Stephen and Vlad escaped together and found their way to John Hunyadi of Hungary and Transylvania. The details of what happened over the next few years are murky, but eventually, Vlad would garner enough support from Hunyadi to invade Wallachia, violently oust another cousin of his, Vladislav II, and retake his rightful throne by the end of 1456. During this period, Stephen had either joined Vlad on the military expedition or made his way to his relative's court following the victory. The next year, Vlad would do Stephen the same favor he had,